What is going on, everyone? Logan here, back for another level speculation video, and this one is going to wrap up the current anthology series as we take a look at Solo. Last week's DLC speculation was on Rogue One, so be sure to click the link at the top right of the screen if you haven't checked that out yet. At this point, most of you probably know, but for those who don't or are new to the channel, I've done a level speculation video for all 9 films and the Skywalker Saga, as well as trilogy recaps, so if you haven't seen those, you can find all of the videos in the Skywalker Saga playlist on my channel page. Even though we're still pretty far from receiving the Skywalker Saga, which will more than likely release sometime this fall, or even in October if you want to go off of the leaked release date, I thought I'd continue this level speculation series into DLCs, as it's very likely that after the game's release, we'll get expanded content. Now, there's no way of telling when these DLCs or expansions may be added to the game, but I think it's safe to assume that we'll still be receiving updates for the game well into and throughout 2021. Besides the main anthology films, I plan to do some additional speculation videos on other Star Wars related content that we might get to see in the game, such as The Mandalorian or a Clone Wars DLC, but also potential character packs that might not need a DLC attached, including content from previous Star Wars games, such as Jedi Fallen Order. Since the regular episodes for the Skywalker Saga will contain 5 levels each, it's very likely that DLC content might contain 5 levels as well, but it very well might only contain 3 to 4 since we'll be getting new planets, characters, and vehicles. Although 5 levels seems like enough for standalone films like Rogue One and today's video on Solo, it's nothing when compared to the Clone Wars, which spans 7 seasons and could potentially be its own game in the future. In addition to new vehicles such as Lando's Millennium Falcon, we should also be receiving new planets such as Kessel. I'm not sure how expansive DLC planets may be, and if they'll be explorable outside the main story, but either way there's still a lot to be done with additional content for the Skywalker Saga. Before we get into Solo, I wanted to state that all comments and opinions reflected in this video come solely from myself. This video is pure speculation and does not reflect any thoughts or comments previously expressed by the game's developers, TT Games. The following level layouts more than likely not directly reflect what we will see in the actual game, but I make these videos regarding what we could see once the game is released. I should also note that each of these levels will probably be shorter in length than what we'll get with the normal Skywalker Saga levels, but nonetheless, I'm going to talk about what I think should be included in each of these potential DLC options. Now, with all that information out of the way, let's begin with Chapter 1 titled Corellia Chase. It should come as no surprise that the first chapter of Solo would be centered around the speeder chase set on Corellia. An opening cutscene shows a younger Han Solo and Qi'ra fleeing from a Corellian gang pursued by Moloch after stealing a piece of coaxium which they plan to use to finally leave the planet to start a new life together. Of course, as with everything in every Star Wars film, the plan goes astray and a speeder chase commences. I think that this level could have the potential to be one of the best chase sequences throughout the Skywalker Saga, if done properly with the gaming mechanics, and if you were to feel like you're in real danger. I would assume that there'd be several checkpoints, and if you're too slow or crash, Moloch or the Imperial Patrol Trooper will stop you during a cutscene, and you'll be forced to begin the checkpoint again. Of course, if you make it out alive, the level will end as Han and Qi'ra part ways until many years later as Han joins the Imperial Army. Chapter 2, Encounter on Mimban, is definitely one of those indecisive levels for me, meaning that it could or could not receive its own level. I think the Mimban storyline could very well be told through a cutscene, especially since the main purpose is for when Han meets Beckett's crew as well as Chewbacca later on, but it could make for another interesting perspective on a planet that we've yet to see incorporated in a Star Wars game. The level would open up with Han flying through the air and landing in a pit of mud while the battle surrounds him. The first part of this level would include fighting waves of enemies until reaching the Imperial barracks later on. After being thrown down into the pit, we're able to gain the trust of the Beast, or Chewbacca, and escape fighting through the Imperial camp and Mimban stormtroopers before fleeing with Beckett. Overall, there's not really too much to say for this level, as I really do think this part of Solo could be done with a cutscene, but nonetheless, this is all just speculation, so why not throw it into the mix? Chapter 3, however, is one that I think definitely needs to be included in the DLC. Chapter 3, Imperial Transport, takes us to Vandor 1 as we attempt to steal more coaxium from the Imperial Convex Transport. This level is focused on Han and Chewbacca as they travel from cart to cart, attempting to reach the shipment while avoiding numerous waves of range troopers. I'm hoping that this level will feel like the classic train robbery missions that you'd come to expect in Western games, such as in Red Dead Redemption, but I'm also hoping that you'll be able to utilize the AT Hauler at some point while fighting off Enfys Nest and the other Cloud Riders. Overall, I think this part definitely deserves a level in the DLC, as it's one of the more exciting moments and battles that takes place throughout the film, not to mention that we also got 2 LEGO sets during the solo wave for this particular scene. After meeting Dryden Voss and Kira once more, as well as enlisting the help of Lando Calrissian in L3, we finally get to the heart of Solo with the Kessel Run sequence for Chapter 4, the Kessel Run. This part of the story could be broken down into 2 distinct levels, one taking place in the Kessel Mines and the other focused specifically on the Kessel Run itself, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to include them both into one big level. The level starts off after L3 has initiated a breakout from the prisoners, as both droids and enslaved Wookiees begin to revolt against their captors. Playing as Han and Chewbacca, we have to push the coaxium throughout the mines, switching between the characters as one pushes the cart and the other one defends. After reaching the Falcon, we can switch between Lando and Kira as we help to defend the shipment and Falcon for a certain amount of time. After making our escape in the Falcon, we fight throughout the highly dangerous Kessel Run, avoiding debris and fighting numerous TIE fighters along the way. After evading everything, we're able to make the jump to Lightspeed, landing on Savareen, where another cutscene begins and we learn that Enfys Nest is actually part of the Rebel Alliance and isn't the main villain for this film. Now, Chapter 5, Beckett's Betrayal, could go by another name, such as Crimson Dawn, if TT Games didn't want to spoil the twist for anyone who hasn't seen the actual movie, but hopefully everyone knows what happens at this point by now. The main function that this level serves is actually the only boss battle that Solo has, and that is against Dryden Voss, who's yet to receive his own minifigure, which was surprising to me considering how much of a role he played in the film, very similar to L3, who was also missing an official minifig. Playing as Han, but also with the ability to switch between Kira, this boss battle is one that actually doubles as a stealth mode, because for part of this fight, the only way to damage Dryden would be to sneak up behind him. After catching Dryden off guard, he fights out in the open until being knocked out, and this is a process that must be repeated numerous times. Dryden could also have a couple cool features, such as swinging his blade causes a large wave of damage to fly outwards, as well as the ability to jump from place to place if you stay in the same location too long without moving. After striking Dryden several times, Kira jumps in to defeat Dryden while Han chases Beckett. We get a quick cutscene with Kira and Darth Maul, who recently got an awesome minifig himself, as we switch outside for another classic Western showdown between Han and Beckett. In the end, this film makes it very clear that Han always shot first, as Kira escapes headed back to Maul on Dathomir. Solo ends as Han and Chewbacca flee in their newly acquired Millennium Falcon after cheating Lando, and they head towards Tatooine seeking a job with the crime lord, Jabba the Hutt, but that's a story for another time. Upon completion, you're once again met with a screen that displays your personal stats for the game, in addition to all the new characters and vehicles that have been unlocked. If by chance the Solo DLC isn't as expansive as what I've discussed in this video, I think it's safe to say that we should at the very least expect Kessel to be added as a playable planet, along with the battle at the Spice Mines and the infamous Kessel Run. When comparing Solo to Rogue One, its overall story doesn't seem as important, since Rogue One was an integral part that led right into Episode 4 A New Hope, so there's always the chance that Solo just becomes an expansion pack with new characters such as young Han and Lando, along with the Kessel Run Falcon, but since Solo received its own film, I think it deserves its own DLC as well. Let me know down below in the comments what other Star Wars content you believe deserves its own DLC in the future, or what else you'd like to see me cover in this DLC level speculation series. If you haven't liked this video, please consider leaving it a big thumbs up, as it helps me to gauge my viewers' overall satisfaction on the video or topic. If you're interested in staying up to date with all of my other Skywalker Saga videos, which typically release on both Wednesdays and Saturdays, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching everyone, hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.